Hey, thanks for joining me today. My name is Holly Lamb, and we find ourselves at the Habitat Restore here in Brunswick, Georgia, because I'm doing Craft Your Stash. It's the First Friday Challenge, and Lisa from Our Gray House and Tammy from the Rusted Willow are our hosts. More about that later. At my Habitat store, they always have some part of the store 40, 50% off, at least 30% off. I found this sign, such a pretty little shape. It was a chalkboard, and it had been well loved, obviously. I think it originally came from Hobby Lobby there. It has $39.99 on it, but of course Hobby Lobby always has things for half off or 40% off. So I ended up paying around $3 for this, and it needed some zhuzhing up, and so I'm going to start off with my Old Faithful, the Waverly chalk paint in the color Plaster. And you can tell this is one of the bigger bottles, and I am digging deep. I'm at the end of this bottle, and that's where the paint is nice and thick. So I end up only having to put 2 coats on the frame and then 3 coats on the chalkboard. Of course, I'm covering black, so that's going to take several coats, and I wanted it to be a good solid opaque finish because I'm going to be stamping on this using some of my new IOD stamps, and so I'm just kind of giving a crosshatch pattern there. If I have brush strokes, I don't want them to show any particular direction. Now this is the Mercantile stamp. It's a 2-page stamp, and I'm going to be using this one. I haven't used it yet, but I'm not going to pull it off of its backing plastic. I'm going to leave it just like this. A lot of times you can leave these IOD, these Iron Orchid design stamps, because they set them up beautifully as is. So what I'm doing to my new stamps is just, I'm going to sand one way and then sand the other way, give it a little crosshatch pattern, and then I'm going to take off all these little bits on the edge that I don't want to use in this project, and then I'm just leaving it on the back plastic because it's already set up and ready for me to go. Now I didn't know what color I wanted to use. I'm going to use this damask pattern. It's a JRV decoupage paper, and I decided to go ahead and use this Paradise Teal. It looked like the perfect color, but it was almost too matchy-matchy, almost too perfect, so I am going to be combining it with a black ink from the Dollar Tree. Now, I'm going to take it here, and I'm going to this is not inked, I'm going to line it up and see where I want to go, so when I flip it over, when it's inked, I know exactly where I'm going. There's a little bit of extra plastic on the right side as we're looking at it there, and so I'm going to, make sure that I have it centered well. There's the ink from the Crafter Square there at the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to use the black after I really load it up with this Paradise Teal. I get these archive inks from Hobby Lobby. You can get them at Michael's or Joann's as well. And because I've sanded it, the stamp itself, it's going to hold on to lots of ink. And then when I flip it over, it's not going to slip on me, or there's a less of a chance for it to slip. So if you have any stamps, sand them a little bit on one side, and it's going to help you out in the long run. Now I'm going to take off anything that got on that backing plastic with a wet wipe and then with a paper towel, and then line it up just like I had planned to. And then I'm going to make sure that I touch with my fingertips every little bit of area of stamp, not pressing on any of the open space, just in case I have anything that would smudge. But I want to make sure I get every tip of every leaf, the crown, the lettering. I want every part of the letters to be touched, because gravity is not going to ink this stamp, or not going to print this stamp. The ink is not going to automatically go into this chalk paint. I need to help it to go into the chalk paint. And I did it first time. That doesn't always happen. I'm going to be honest. I could have very easily painted right back over that, but I didn't have to. These stamps are really great quality. And of course, I was working fast so that I could get all that ink on there and it not dry up. But that was a lucky break. All right, so now I'm going to take this decoupage paper, which is 20 by 30, and it is an 18-pound paper. And it is not a rice paper, but it's a nice weight decoupage paper. JRV does have rice papers, but that's not what this is. This is their normal decoupage paper, very affordable. And it is, there's also a green damask, but this one is the teal, or I think actually they call it turquoise damask, I believe is what it is. You can order that from Jamie Ray Vintage, the app or the website, or they have a lot of stockists who stock this as well. I know that L&J Goods, Lynn and Megan, they have this on their website, L&J Goods as well. They have JRV papers. So I'm pulling it just a little bit, giving a little tug, and I am putting it right on the frame, the top part of the frame. I was very careful not to put the Mod Podge down into the crevices of this frame, but just right on this top, because I'm going to be sanding this to the frame, right to the edges of the frame, so it shows off all this beautiful shape. And if I get globs of Mod Podge will dry quickly, and it dries nice and firm, which is what I want it to do, but it's going to be harder if I get globs down on the side. So I'm very careful where the Mod Podge goes. I'm not going to put Mod Podge on top. I'm going to let it dry a little bit, and then after, of course, I'm going to use my brayer. And then this is the next day. I'm coming back in, and I'm going to very gently go through this decoupage paper and reveal my stamp again so I can kind of see where I'm working. And then I've got a very light grit sandpaper. It's not sandpaper, it's a nail file. And these are the nail files. Gosh, you can get these at Walmart or at the Dollar Tree. They have a very light grit file on it, or sandpaper on it. And it's perfect for this, because I'm having to be super careful not to scuff into my, back, the white paint or the plaster colored paint. I don't want to scuff it, because if I scuff it, I can paint over it, but it's going to be very difficult not to have, bumps and ridges. So I want to keep it as smooth as possible. So I am going to be very careful here, sanding right up to the edge and getting all of it. Of course, I have this greatly sped up to save your time watching, but I was very careful. Now, I didn't have to be as careful on the outer edge, because obviously I could hold it up, put one hand under it, and then I can just scrape down. You always want to sand the same way you put the decoupage down. So if the decoupage is down, you want to sand down. And I don't want to come back up with my nail file. These are the nail files I order from Amazon. And I want to come back up, because I could pull my decoupage paper right back up. Even with the Mod Podge, that action could pull it right up. Now, I linger on some parts because I want to put in, a little bit of distress. I want to bring back a little bit of the wood that was there. It had a nice distress on it. So I'm bringing a little bit of that back. And then just to seal in my decoupage, I'm going to use my Super Matte Mod Podge, which is my favorite top coat. Because, the yellow label Matte Mod Podge does have a sheen. It says matte, but it doesn't mean it. But this Super Matte does mean it. It will be a completely matte finish. Now, I do not want to brush this over my stamps, though, even though it's the next day. And technically I could, since this is permanent ink. I don't like to take the chance, because, I got this on first stamp. I don't want to have to redo it, because I smudge it by brushing on it. So I'm going to take it outside, and with my favorite Rust-Oleum Matte Clear, I'm going to seal that stamp. And I'm going to go ahead and seal the whole thing, just to make sure that it is properly sealed on all edges, getting all the ins and outs of the frame. And what do you think, Toby? You want to go outside? He's standing there at the front door. I think he wants to go out. And so here it is in my front foyer. I'll give you some close-ups. You can see where I kind of lingered with those nail files and got a little bit of the original wood back. And that decoupage paper is just so pretty and so easy to work with. I just kind of felt as I was putting on there and got that nice tip in the middle. And then those stamps, boy, I just really like that's the first time I've used the mercantile. And there's some other really great images in that one. I can't wait to pull it out and use some more. So I was super tickled with how this paper really showed off what a pretty frame that was. It's hard to remember the original with the chalkboard. Pretty right there in my foyer. All right. So we're going to go ahead and move on. The Dollar Tree is a big contributor to my craft stash. I am a Dollar Tree fanatic, and shore living certainly does not help. Since I live here on St. Simon's Island, I'm about 10 minutes from the beach, and we end up going to Dollar Trees all over the place when we're on vacations. But boy, when they built this Dollar Tree 5 minutes from my house, I knew I was in trouble. So I'm in there a good bit, plus we have 3 in Brunswick that I frequent as well. You have to go to all of them, keep up with the inventory. But I'm going to use this little wood piece. They have all kinds of new wood pieces at the Dollar Tree this year in the shore living. And they have a lot of things that they had before. But now I've done this before. I've used shoe polish to stain wood pieces. Now this time I'm going to add a little bit of color to the ship, to the flag, to the sails, to the boat, the bottom part of the boat. This is Pool by Waverly Chalk Paint, which I get at Walmart. But I'm going to do about it's the 1-to-1 water to the chalk paint. I'm going to do a wash. It's acting kind of like a stain. But first, I'm going to go and I'm going to use the applicator in this particular shoe polish. I got this particular bottle and the white shoe polish over there beside it. I thought about possibly using the white, but I am going to use the Pool instead. The white would have been nice as well. But I got those at my Roses. We have a Roses really close to our restore, the Habitat store that we were at the first project. And I'm in there at least every other week getting this and that. They have a great selection. It always surprises me. My friends who have just never been in the Roses. I don't get it. It's a great place to shop. It has all kinds of stuff, not just regular things for your house. It has clothes and shoes, and it's got all the toiletries you need, and it's got seasonal stuff. I mean, I really enjoy Roses for so many reasons. But anyway, that's where I got and they have great prices too. I got my shoe polish, but you can get that at, you can get shoe polish anywhere, any shoe store, or, Walmart has it as well. So I'm just dabbing this paint, this wash off so I can still see the wood grain. I'm trying to decide what's waves and what's boat here. And I finish up doing the sails and everything and the little flag on top and try to outline just the shape. I even went up into that top part of the frame to show the flag. And now I'm going to flip it over, and this is going to hang in my kitchen window. And it is, you can see clearly from the street into my kitchen window if I'm washing dishes, because we have lots of, bicyclists and walkers and people walking their dogs and, runners and whatnot. And so I want it to look nice on the other side. So I'm going to hang it here with this necklace. Now, this is just a necklace that I got. I think I got this at the Gather thrift store. We have it's called the Gathering Place. It's a ministry that ministers to our youth. And they opened a thrift store, a really nice one. I don't know, a year ago, 2 years ago. I don't know if it's been 2 years. It's a really beautiful thrift store. And they have great donors. I can always find really good clothes at the Gather thrift store. They don't have great sales. They're not hello goodbye. They don't go half off very often. But their donors are just so good. It's just worth, spending $6 or $7 on a dress if I can find a really good one. But this necklace is as is. I didn't do anything to it. it was the pull there was just kind of wrapped, and I was just finagling and fixing, so those little beads on that little piece of leather kind of hung like my bow. So no ribbon is going to be used in this DIY. I'm not a crafter that has to have a ribbon. I totally get it. Some of my friends who are crafters, they love to put a ribbon on everything. I don't judge, but I do not feel that way. Not everything has to have a ribbon. So I'm just using these beads as the hanger to my very light little simple sign, a little nautical sailboat. I love to see the sailboats in the St. Simon Sound. And there we go. I just have it hanging from a command hook that I took some rub and buff, the antique gold rub and buff, and covered. And so it's just a plain hook. I think it was gray to begin with, and then I just put the antique gold on there. And then you can see just that pretty whitewash. I took this video at dusk, so there wasn't a lot of sun outside, so you still can see the subtleties. At the end of the video, I'll have to move it because it's really bright when I was taking that video and you couldn't tell. But I love how that looks. Okay, now my husband brought this in from the restore one day and wanted this little medicine cabinet to go above the sink in our laundry room. For my son, he is staying with us temporarily in the garage room that my husband actually built for my parents when they visit. And because there's only 2 steps from the room to the house, and it's straight in from the garage, so they don't have a lot of steps to deal with. Well, when Mom and Dad come down now, they're back up in Tennessee now, but when they come down when they're snowbirds, they've been staying over at Epworth. So this room is a pretty, nice guest room. Kevin uses it as a man room when his little, hideout, when we don't have anybody staying. But we wanted to get Aaron a place to put all his toiletries, so that is going to fit the bill here. It was in really good shape, except for all of it is a particle board, and none of it is wood. And so it had a couple of places on those corners that were a little bit frayed. They must have gotten wet. And so I sanded them down. I used my clear wood glue, and I sealed them up and just made sure that it had a good shape. And then the whole outside is going to get 2 coats of snow white chalk paint. My washer and dryer in the laundry room is pure white, it's white, not off-white. And then the sink that we put in there to take the place of the wash basin that used to be in there is also white, to match the washer and dryer. So I wanted the outside to match that as well, so it's white. But the inside was, dingy and awful looking, so I had to paint the inside as well. So I'm going to use this. This is the first time I've used my cottage color. This is a DIY paint, and it has a built-in sealer. And so you saw I just pulled out I had a plastic knife in there. I was stirring it. I stirred it for about 5 minutes because that top coat that is built in, it is, it'll separate. And so every time you get it, open it, any kind of paint like this, you have to, stir it up pretty good. But this color is called Americana. And it's not like red, white, and blue American. It's Americana as in the Americana chickens. And their eggs are this color. And this is the prettiest green kind of, no, I can't even say it's turquoise. It's not. It's just a beautiful green color. And I'm going to be painting a lot more in this color. All right, so I just sanded the edges where the white and the Americana came together just to make it look nice and clean and neat. And then we were at a thrift store down in Fernandina Beach. We were on our anniversary trip last summer, and I found this book kind of box of patterns, and they're called American Needlework Book of Patterns and Instructions. And it has inside of it, I'm going to show you a little bit of it. Oh, it has these huge, big patterns, and there are all kinds of needlework, embroidery and crewel and cross stitch, needlepoint. There's candle wicking and weaving and crocheting and knitting and quilting and patchwork. All of these different patterns and look at all that. Look at how pretty that is. And then it gives pictures of what it's supposed to look like, but they're huge. And because this frame of this mirror was not, it's a good size frame. I mean, it's not a huge medicine cabinet, but it's a little oversized. I couldn't use just regular, scrapbook paper. I wanted a pretty paper to go on it. And honestly, I went upstairs to the guest room to look for a book for book pages, because I thought, maybe I'll just put book pages on the frame of this. And then I saw my American needlework box, and I remembered last summer getting this, and I thought, ooh, one of these, patterns would look so pretty in black and white. It would kind of match what's going on in there. And then you get that little pop of color when you open it up. And so I was just kind of looking through all the patterns, and I found this cross stitch one. And I love to cross stitch. So I thought, that's it. I'm going to do it with the grid, the cross stitch patterns. And I thought about doing this side. But then when I went to cut it out, I saw this bird. And I went, okay, I might do that bird. I love to cross stitch. And so I thought, I'm going to save the bird. And then I flipped it over and went, ooh, I kind of like this one. And then I thought, the differences in color on this side, I think is going to show up a whole lot better than the real subtle colors of the other side. To be honest, when I cross stitch, I prefer to cross stitch with a color cross stitch. I like a color pattern, but this black and white pattern, a lot of times I'll have to use when I use these older patterns. But I thought this, with all the different shades of blacks and grays and whites, it would be perfect on the frame, just like I did on that first project with the decoupage paper. I'm going to use this for my decoupage. So I'm trying to get I'm getting 4 strips cut out, and that's for the bottom, and here, this one's going to be for the top. And I cut out that middle, 2 strips out of the middle section for the sides, so they would really be the showstopper. And these would kind of be the little crown on top. And of course, my favorite decoupage medium is matte Mod Podge. You can't go wrong. It dries quickly. It bonds thoroughly. It is the perfect medium. It's going to hold on to this paper. Now, this is a full-fledged paper. This is not like sewing patterns. This is, honest to goodness paper. I'd say it's about 25 pound. And so I'm going to use my brayer again. That's always best. I always use a brayer before I put a top coat on. And I'm not going to put my top coat on yet because I'm going to sand this off first. Now it looks like I've cut these strips to match the top of this, but I have not. I cut it just a little bit bigger, not even 1/8 of an inch bigger. I want the frame to be sanded, not cut. So I'm going to brayer it here, and then I'm going to miter these corners by folding it and then slicing it with my X-Acto. I'm going to fold it from corner to corner and then cut from corner to corner. And it makes the perfect mitered decoupage corner. That other frame that I did before from the Restore, it really didn't have corners. It was rounded on the corners. And that decoupage paper was huge. So I was able to, put it on the whole piece. But this one had to be pieced together. So you can see I'm just taking my nail files there again. And I am just sanding it right into that frame. If I get a little bit of distress on it, that's okay with me. I'm trying to be careful getting down, but I don't have to be as careful here because it's the mirror. And I have it taped off anyway. So I don't have to be nearly as careful. So this is, I'm using my full-fledged, my good, strong, I think these are 80 grit and 100 grit on the two sides of these Amazon nail files. All right, so now that I have it all sanded off, I'm putting my Super Matte Mod Podge just as a sealer. But it did bubble up just a hair as it dried. So I am taking the sandpaper again. This is a used one, so it's not as gritty. And I am lightly sanding down that Mod Podge. Anywhere there was a little bit of a bump or a bubble, it's not going to tear the decoupage paper. It's just going to sand down any bumps. I don't put a knob on this. There wasn't a place for one. I could have drilled a hole, but I decided not to put a knob. It just you just need to open it up. It's very light and very easy to deal with. So I didn't want you to be able to touch and feel bumps. So now that it's all sanded down, here it goes for its final coat. I wanted to get the sides because it'll most likely get splashed with, water and whatnot. And even though this Americana cottage color has a top coat, I knew it was going to get a beating from, bottles and toothbrushes and, whatever else is going to go inside here. So I do end up putting 2 coats of my Rust-Oleum Gloss clear spray. And then it is ready for the reveal and to be hung in the bathroom or the laundry room. Just using that razor knife right there with the razors, that's in the Dollar Tree right now. That is a nice little tool right there. It came with a lot of refills too. So here we go. Hanging in here, this is my laundry room. Now you can see the screw where the mirror was hanging to begin with, but we'll deal with that later. All right, you can see my cross-stitch pattern there. Really liking how that looks on there with the flowers. You see the miter corners and how it just fit right to the frame like that first project. And then here we are inside, and that Americana is a perfect complement to the cabinets, which are just the same shade or same color, just a little bit darker. A little bit darker. I don't even remember. We painted that a long time ago. I don't even remember where we got that paint. Probably Lowe's or Home Depot. But I just love that cottage color. And the white matches the, washer and dryer. And there's the little sink we have in there. And it matches my steamer. So I think this is the perfect little mirror for this spot for my son and whoever else uses the garage room, that's the garage door, in the future. So again, I want to thank Tammy from the Rusted Willow and Lisa from Our Great House. Please go down into the description box and check out the playlist for Crafting Our Stash. I'm sure there'll be lots of spring and summer goodies there to be seen and had. And also Tammy and Lisa's channels will be listed below. They do lots of great things and they're so funny as well. Both of them are. They're great to listen to and great to watch. All right, so I had to move this in here. It was way too bright after school one day when I was doing this. So I wanted you to see the subtlety and the different colors of that paint wash and the stain. Love that. All right, I want to leave you with a little encouragement from the Psalms. This is 72, 16 through 19. May the grain abound throughout the land. On the tops of the hills may it sway. May the crops flourish like Lebanon and thrive like the grains of the field. May his name endure forever. May it continue as long as the sun. Then all nations will be blessed through him, and they will call him blessed. Praise be to the Lord God, the God of Israel, who alone does marvelous deeds. Praise be to his glorious name forever. May the whole earth be filled with his glory. Amen and amen. Thank you so much for watching today. Thank you so much. I pray that your richest blessings, God blessings upon you. And I will see you next time. Bye-bye.